fireman, and that's all I am. I'd never be anything else. Firefighting is the ants pants of excitement. It really is.
Firefighters have the same appeal as spacemen or racing car drivers. Almost super real. They all had the same qualities.
The trucks, just hearing the sirens and getting all excited and stuff. But yeah, that's basically the image. And of course, as you get older, then you're more interested in what's inside the fire truck.
We want to be dazzled in the stress. We want to be rescued from the top floor.
I don't know what it is. It's probably different for everyone. The strength, the power.
I guess a firefighter is a hero in his own way because of the function that they perform. We expect them when we see them come around the corner in those big red trucks with the flashing lights that we can stop and the firefighter will take over. And they do that.
I don't know if I could deal with all the blood and guts and, you know, the stench of burning flesh, which I'm sure they must have to come across sometimes. That'd be pretty difficult.
It's demanding, physically demanding. And you see, the thing with being a firefighter, it doesn't happen every 5 minutes. You can be in a station for months and everything's quiet, and all of a sudden, boom, it's 100% pressure.
They never look at themselves as being heroes, but the person who doesn't care, who's just dedicated to doing the job, not being frightened and not thinking about what could happen to him, just going there and saying, well, where's the fire? I'm going to fight the fire, and they do.
Short of a wartime situation, there is no other job that comes close to firefighting as far as its danger to the practitioner and also its physical demands on the firefighter. Physical demands as far as strength, endurance, any parameter you can name, firefighting is normally at the top of the list. Females that can do this job are hard to find at the best of times, so we need a very big pool to pick from. At the moment, we've got a small selection from a very small pool. With the males, we've got a large pool to pick from. It's a lot easier for us to find the males we need.
It's not a job for the police lends themselves to it. Like there's no doubting the ladies' courage and her intelligence. That's beyond question. You've got to have power to weight. I mean, if you don't need to be strong, you've got to be heavier. And how are they going to do when they're 55? You've still got to be fit. And for 60, you've still got to be in there. There's no mercy, Sean.
A lot of weight involved. When you pick up a weight of hose, which is 28 pound an hour scale, you've got an air set which weighs about 35 pound. And you've got a suit on that's going to weigh about another 25 pound. There's a lot of weight before you even start.
I think the girls would carry that okay. I think it's more just operating lines of hose where you need weight as well as strength to hold it.
Well, we get about 5,000 applicants every year. We'll take about 80 to 100. We want the absolute best we can get. We want the strongest, we want the fittest. When we're talking about the physical parameters, we just want the best.
Sir. Butler.
Sir.
Bevan.
Sir.
Ordell.
Sir.
What we're going to do first, though, fellas, to get to know each other, and because you're all brand new, I want you all to, one at a time, stand up and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Hi, I'm Brett Jackson. I worked in a warehouse in the city for a bookstore, and the reason I joined the Fire Brigade is because I saw the role they played last year in the bushfires, and I think it's a career that I would enjoy.
I used to be a physical education teacher at Doonside High School. I didn't feel that was enough of a challenge for me, so I decided to join the Fire Brigade.
Previously employed in the building industry, but I found that it was a bit up and down for work. I've been a plumber for the last 12 years, and I just wanted a change of career. I think we're all very lucky to have this opportunity.
Darren Johnson. I was a mine supervisor. I think I'll enjoy the Fire Brigade because of the mateship.
Previously I was employed in the banking industry, and the reason I joined the Fire Brigade was I've got a couple of mates who are in it, and they just say it's such a great job, and I thought, yeah, it sounded pretty good.
I worked in ladies' underwear before I came here at Burleigh. I was in production and computer programming.
I was a district operator with Sydney Electricity for the last 7 years.
I'm married with a 9-month-old daughter. I was in the Army for 12 years in the Royal Australian Infantry. I was a captain there. I joined the Fire Brigade because I like an active lifestyle. I'm looking for a more stable life for my family.
Hi, my name's Jeff Flay. I'm 30, single, live in Caringbah. Before I joined the Fire Brigades, I was a part-time faith healer, but I didn't really get a lot of satisfaction out of that. So I thought I'd look for a job that gave me a bit of responsibility, and being part of the community, helping the community out's something I'm looking for as well. Thanks a lot. We trained on the campus at Goulburn, which is part of the police academy. It's a godforsaken hellhole. It's a mixture of isolation and concentration.
Let's imagine now.
But you're down there to get past the 8 weeks of study, and we were told in no uncertain terms that we had to pass, and the pass mark was 80%.
You've been responded to a motor vehicle accident with one person trapped, and they give you the address. The first thing, or the most important thing that you must do on arrival is send an informative message. And what's that going to contain?
I have participated in many different sorts of exercises, including motor vehicle rescue. I felt totally welcome and accepted right from the very beginning.
Slide the board behind you a bit more, and then we're just going to lift you out, put in the ambulance, okay?
I get to see their softer side, the chinks in their armour. I get to see the feelings and the sensitive side. It's always dangerous to generalise about groups of people. However, working with firefighters, it does appear that certain personality traits are common across the board. These would include the obsessive desire to do a perfect job, a compulsive tendency to repeat the same actions for very similar events. They tend to be very action-orientated and easily bored. They are most frequently risk-takers. They often report that they would like immediate gratification.
A lot more boring than what I thought it would be. A lot of time just sitting around doing drills and, you know, walking the streets and doing hydrant inspections and stuff.
It's an exciting job.
Has its moments.
It's a great job, yeah. I mean, how many jobs do you get to go to, run into burning buildings and save people, and you know, it's an exciting job. How dare you say it's a boring job?
No, I didn't say it was a boring job. I said it's a lot more boring than what I expected. No. It has its moments.
Shit's hitting the fan. It's on. It's great, and it's exciting. You get wet and dirty, and you feel as though you've done something good. And then when it's not happening, you've got other things to do, and you've got nice people to knock around with, and they are the most maniacal bunch of blokes you could ever meet half the time. You know, the lunatics find them.
Brigade, attention! Brigade, number
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
We've just done 8 weeks in Goulburn, pretty intense theory.
Brigade, 3 ranks left of the marker.
It's been a transition from not knowing anything about what we do in the fire brigades to getting this far, and you've sort of got a bit of a sense of responsibility, I suppose.
Brigade, attention! Brigade, open order march! Brigade, eyes front! Answer your names. Firefighter Bucci. Sir. Popper. Sir. Bevan. Sir. Cornell. Sir. Dick. Fraser.
It's good to put the books aside after some hard study down in Goulburn and finally get into what we really joined up for. vital part of Fire Brigade training. House work, station work. Mum would like to see this. Definitely we have bonded over the 8 weeks in Goulburn, as was expected. That's probably the reason why they send us down to Goulburn, take us out of our homes and put us together for 8 weeks, because it's very important when you come out as firefighters to have that bond, because you're responsible for each other's lives, and if you don't have that bond with each other, then someone could get hurt.
Okay, look, it was raised this morning, what would be the ruling for uniform dress in cool weather? I just looked it up in the dictionary for your benefit there. The uniform is having the same form, appearance, etc. as others of the same class. And what that means is that if a couple of you think it's cold enough to put a jumper on, then you should all put a jumper on so that you look the same in uniform.
Having not worn a uniform before, obviously putting on the badge and the turnout coat, you feel pretty important, 7 foot tall and bulletproof. That sort of wears off after a while, that's just natural, I suppose. But you can't help but feel like you stand out, because you do. It's a different sort of uniform. It's a uniform, obviously, a lot of people respect because of the work that you do.
When firefighters are operating under the terms of the Fire Brigade Act, our powers are very, very widespread. Once we're wearing our uniform, we can take a fire appliance through red lights, we can go speeding through traffic to get to the job on time. Once we're there, we can virtually break down walls to get in. If we have to, we can knock buildings down to stop the spread of the fire.
I broke up with my last boyfriend because of the Fire Brigade. Went to dinner at the fire station and got a lift home in the fire truck, and he saw me. So that was the end of the relationship, really.
I was quite young at the time, and I was actually going out with a fireman. We only had a short romance, but I do remember standing at a set of lights when the fire truck pulled up, and standing there and hearing my name called out, and of course I was too embarrassed to own up, and of course the horn started, they all hung out and started calling my name, and I was totally embarrassed and pretended that I couldn't actually hear anything, till the person next to me kept tapping me saying, "Love, I think they're calling you," and I'm going, no, couldn't be me, positive.
On one occasion in this apartment when we were doing a photo shoot, it was my alter ego, Vanessa Wagner. She's a drag character, and we set some sparklers alight, and of course the alarms went straight off, so we had a house full of firemen who ended up being involved in the photo shoot.
He had the best set of legs. He had great legs, and he had a charm about him.
I was born in a fire station, so I guess it's in the blood. My father naturally was a fireman. The 2 brothers were firefighters, so I had to be a fireman. He was very fond of horses, my dad. He was in the Welsh Cavalry as a young bloke over in Wales. He's a Welshman. And he joined in about 1912, I think, in the days of the big steamers and the horses. And I think the first station he went to was Paddington, where the horses were. He was a single man then, and when he became married, he was moved to Piedmont. The 3 of us boys were born in the fire station there, in the room above the watch room. And Mum used to tell me that when time was coming near, the pain started to come on, she'd be on the bed upstairs, and Dad was on duty in the watch room. We used to have black rulers, ebony rulers, and she'd tap on the floor and bring up the midwives. See, a lot of the ladies in those days had midwives. But we 3 children were born in that room above the watch room, and in that fire station at that time, there were 45 people, men, women and children, but of that 45, there were 22 children in that building at the one time. There was 3 levels at Piedmont, the ground floor and 2 above, and the kids weren't allowed off those landings onto the ground floor. And you can imagine 22 kids, and they had only a little area to play in, but I think people, they didn't know any different in those days. That was the accepted thing, and that was it.
My nickname is Don. Toy boy.
I haven't got a nickname. They haven't christened. Oh, Fetus. That's right. James christened me Fetus.
Faithfiller.
Thumbs up for Deborah. New South Wales finest.
That might have been more to do with late night gibberish at one of the bars down in Goulburn, I think.
Polisher. No. Polisher. No, I haven't got one.
A fire appliance was going through some tight streets in Newtown. It got to the stage where it couldn't get down the street because vehicles were parked. However, there was confirmed persons trapped in a burning building, so the station commander worked to the full extent of our powers and used the fire appliance to push his way through the parked vehicles. He damaged the fire truck, he damaged the parked vehicles, but at the end of the day, they rescued people from a burning building.
Oh, we're not allowed to drive under siren or anything like that for 3 years or something. We just practice. In 2.5 years' time, we come back and do another course, and if we're all right, they really let us loose. Is that right? That's right, isn't it?
The other guy,
2.5 years or so?
Go hard enough, so that's why you got it close to the gutter, so that's good. Make sure it's straight, you'll still get your ass to handle it. With these particular points, because they're longer wheelbase, you want your rear wheel behind their rear wheel, almost the corner. Move back, left hand down lock, into about a 45-degree angle. Bring about a 45, straighten it up.
Don is a very good driver. Hopefully we should see him take about 5 posts in the first 10, so it should be a good action sequence. But everyone else is pretty good. No one's having any real problems at this stage.
There's the tin plate, which is sort of the 1950s and onward, Japanese, or even earlier. You know, some tin plate things were made in the 30s. But I've got models here that are made out of chocolate and soap and rubber and whatever material you name. I've probably got a fire engine made out of it. By the time I had 5 or 6 of them, they were getting in the way. So I decided to build a little shadow box. And I built a shadow box probably big enough to hold about 30 of them, not because I had expansion plans, but I happened to have a piece of glass that size. I thought, well, you know, you never know, I might get 30 or so. And it's gotten out of hand. I have 3,000 some odd now.
The fire engine that's normally here is going in for a service, so we've got a substitute fire engine in and we're just taking the gear off the fire engine normally here and putting on the substitute one. Yeah.
My own interest is with the machinery. I happen to like machinery a great deal. My wife and I, when we travel, not only visit fire stations, we mostly visit factories, because I like seeing where things come from.
Yeah, well, this is the Iron Fox, the mother of all fire engines, I reckon. It was imported from America in 1929 and was on a special order. It had solid tyres when it came out, and it didn't have all this bodywork. It just had the pump, the engine and the chassis.
The museum was essentially a collection of artifacts and vehicles. My own collection was the bulk of the model collection. I think I had 500 or 600 at the time. I don't know how the brass would attract fingerprints, but before we had a half a dozen people through the place, every piece of brass in there would have a finger mark on it. The kids didn't seem to be too bad. We put up ropes, and the kids seem to know that you don't go beyond the ropes. The parents, however, think that doesn't apply to them. That only applies to kids.
An interesting part about this machine, which takes the eye straight away, are these 2 air vessels. Well, because it's a positive type pump, it's a piston type pump, it tends to have a pulsate in the stream of water. So they are there as pressure. It keeps a pressure on the water surface, so it allows for a steady stream of water. But even then, the old Fox, if you pump it on soft ground, it shuffles itself in and it'll bog itself. They won't mind, will they? Well, that was the nuisance, because you had to go totally opposite. Have this one there.
The vehicles really told a story about the development of Sydney, because as the buildings in Sydney grew and as the size of the city grew, the fire engines had to grow because it took a bigger pump to put out a fire in a bigger building. And of course it takes a bigger engine to drive a bigger pump, and it takes a bigger truck to carry a bigger engine and a bigger pump, and the whole thing grew. And if you line them up, you can see the vehicles growing in size and complexity along with the size of the city.
When I see this motor, it makes the hairs tingle on the back of my head. I really love that motor. I've cleaned it. I've been stationed where it was sitting up there in the new station at headquarters. It's just a beautiful motor. It's a monstrous looking thing. It was a very hard vehicle to drive. My father and brother and myself have driven it. I've never driven it to a fire, but I have driven it.
We're in the pistol team in the World Police and Fire Games, and it's the first time in the Metropolitan Fire Brigade's history that a pistol team entered.
At one point or another, you're always putting your life on the line, and it's great to have a time where you just say, let's forget the worries, let's forget what we've done, let's have a week, 10 days, and have fun and play and get together.
My name is Dan McWilliams, a.k.a. Sergeant Slaughter. I'm a rugby player and a New York City fireman. I love my job.
Our shifts are 24 hours, and we stay, we live, eat, and do house cleaning, everything together. It is like one big family.
Water's on.
This is the Country Fire Authority team. The car keeps going, the hose comes on. Water on, man, water on. Get out there, they've got to get that branch on the end. Here comes the water.
I'm from a very young firehouse, and a lot of guys are getting married. You know, so, I don't know if you remember from high school, you grow up together. Guys are getting married, they're having babies together. We're growing up together. We're becoming adults, men, family men.
Firefighter Hicks, contact 2693. Right, where were we? Oh, the reason I became a firefighter is to answer phones. Really, sir? Well, my father and my brother are both firefighters and have been for a few years, quite a few years. The influence hasn't been direct, like they haven't sort of pushed me and said, you should do this. In fact, they've steered me against it, so I reckon I won't wake up in the middle of the night. It's the phone again. 4 on the runner, contact 2692. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's a red one too. Fire and salvage.
Housing flat 221-227 Burke Street, Darlinghurst. Enter from William Street.
It is a hard job. People think you're sitting around all day. You're not actually. You're pretty busy, you know. You keep busy. When you're working, you are actually working. The lifestyle of it's a lot better than what I expected.
expected. Excuse me for a second. City of Sydney Fire Brigade? Yeah, just hold the line. Firefighter Warren, contact the relay. See, we are busy. I wouldn't be a receptionist, I'll tell you that. Relay, sir? Yeah, mate.
Get out, guys. First bit, you get out as quick as you can. Okay, thanks. Okay, you can start plugging the hose now, ready to take a lock.
Jethro! Jeff!
That'll be high enough, I think. That'll do.
We had expectations of doing something completely different today, and now the bell's gone off, and we're doing motor drills all of a sudden. They've just snapped it on us. We don't know from day to day or from hour to hour what our routine's going to be.
Hang on, no, gentlemen. Too close to the wall. It's got to come out.
Really come up, Rick?
Keep coming a little further.
There you go.
Right, that'll do it. That's foot drop. Tie it off at the top of the ladder. Tie it at the top, Jacko. I want to see it tied.
Go tie it. The well Donny?
Yep.
What we specifically say to them is that those pump drills that they do enable them to use their equipment. So they can run out hose, ship a standpipe, connect a branch, know how to hold the hose.
Yeah. Right. Someone fell over. No good to anyone if you're hurt in the ground, are you?
Sure.
Collectors over the delivery hose. That's just basic stuff. Okay, so next time we do it, boys, try and do it a bit more efficiently and a bit faster. Okay? All right, make up.
Before that, we all thought we were pretty confident. It was only when we had to perform under pressure that we really saw our shortcomings. We were pretty much exposed. It made us feel that we had to be more respectful about what we're doing, show a bit more respect to the work we're doing and the responsibility.
I got up to the third floor and the whole stairway collapsed and I fell down 3 flights. And luckily I didn't break anything. I was buried up to my waist in burning embers and I was able to dig myself out, and my legs, other portions of my body, my ears and neck were burned, but I had to, in my bare feet, get a ladder up and get 5 firemen down out of the building that were stuck up in the windows. And so, something I don't want to go through again. It was very painful.
When you get inside, you're doing a search of the 3 levels, this being ground level, then level 1, then level 2. If you find a victim,
we used to carry a sponge, sea sponge. Put that in your tunic, and if you got to a smoky job, you'd wet and put it in your mouth, bite on it slowly, and you get a little bit of trickle down the throat, and you breathe through your mouth. Now, that was a very crude way of protecting your mouth, but it worked on occasions. I mean, if you went into an smoke-filled atmosphere, and there's no oxygen or lack of oxygen, you'd go down or you'd have to get out.
Having the shower caps over the face mask simulates being in a smoke-filled room with limited vision. It's reasonably realistic. You can still see shadows, but you can't make out any distinguishing shapes.
We went into a burning house. We found the 2 children and we found the husband. But as we've searched the bedroom, the wife has rolled over and we've missed her on the bed. And we've come out of the house, all 3, oh yes, we've done a good job. And the husband at 3 o'clock in the morning says, oh, where's my wife? She was in bed next to me.
We continue the search.
Our hearts are going through our boots, and we've got back into the house too sweet, and we've found her. But because the smoke layer was getting so low, we couldn't let her actually sit up, because she would sit up, gasp in, and burn her lungs. So we've wrapped her up in a sheet, so she couldn't move, and then we've woken her up. And the look on her face when we woke her up, and there's 3 people, or 3 firefighters in breathing apparatus, looking like something out of Star Wars, about that far away from your face, the look on her face was an absolute horror, and she's tried to get up and run. And we've slid her off the bed, out into the street, and
she's just unravelled the sheet and tried to throw the sheet away, cursing and swearing, and then she's realised that she didn't wear anything to bed. And in one motion, she's actually wrapped herself up tighter than what we actually did.
We had a horrific fire in Glasgow, and we dragged 6 people out of the house, and none of them had pulses when we got them to the fresh air. And so we started CPR and expired air resuscitation. And we were fortunate we brought them all round, which was, you know, extremely rewarding. They brought up some pretty vile black vomit because of the smoke they inhaled, of course. But they were sitting up in the ambulances and on their way to hospital by the end of that job. And it was about 6 months later, they all come into the station. They found out when we were on shift, and they came in and they thanked us. And that was an amazing occasion.
You with me? Yeah, mate. Keep going. All right. Turn your airsets off. You've got to stop your whistle. How do you think you went?
It's dark, and it's something you're not used to. You're used to being able to see, and you don't rely too much on your touch or, you know, where you're putting your foot on that. And so it's using other senses.
As long as you keep in contact and keep talking to each other, a bit of reassurance and stuff.
You have to work as a team. Yeah, you couldn't do it without working as a team.
Part of the culture of the Fire Brigade is to be a member of the union, and that's reflected in the 2,700 permanent professional firefighters in the state. Only 6 aren't members of the union, and that's with voluntary membership. Being a firefighter, you're obviously working in a hazardous environment, and the union's always looked after those interests and tried to make it as safe as possible. It also means facing some pretty shabby treatment from management. That's one of the problems with the paramilitary rank-structured management, that it's very, very hard for the individual firefighter to sort of like fight the system and get back, which is one of the reasons they're so strong in the union. The union's their vehicle to have a go back at all the things that they don't like.
It's kind of like a little, I'm not going to say a beauty contest, but you kind of walk out in like shorts and then your bunker gear and then your dress uniform, your Class A uniform, and then the judges compile points and you get picked that way. My particular shot was done at Station 3 in the city of Coral Gables, and we just laddered a building and kind of did a simulation, kind of like I was, I guess, rescuing the puppy out of a window. I hope women buy him, you know. I would imagine so, but yeah, the women buy him, definitely, I think.
Where's the women?
I don't think these guys are firemen, actually. If I had a body like this, I could...
It'd take a lot of work before I'd take my clothes off like that.
The letter arrived marked John, the calendar fireman, and addressed to ACT Fire Brigade. It wasn't very graphic. He just said he was very interested in firemen and liked to meet me, but I didn't follow it up.
We produced our calendar. It's got fire trucks on it. They don't offend anybody.
Another one of hose, a branch. Straight upstairs.
About 5 to 3, we got a call to the AWA building. It was a 14-storey building, had this big tower on the top. We went into the foyer, and the lifts were opening, the people were pouring out. And we were about to get in the lift, and a hand grabbed me by the strap and pulled me back, and it was the chief officer said, "You're not going to go up in that lift, are you, Phil?" So I said, "I was." He said, "No, you're not." We had to walk up 14 floors, 2 flights to a floor. So when Rocky and I got to the top, we were out of wind. But however, there was a maze of concrete walls. You couldn't get to the seat of the fire. The roof didn't have an expeller for the smoke, so it was just like an oven. So we had to back out, and they retreated to the floor below. You know, in those days, if you went into a job and come out, they'd reckon you were chicken. You really had to try. And there was not very much breathing appliances. I mean, Rocky Riley and I had a Prado one. But there were blokes there just chewing the smoke. And it is a bit frightening when you start to see all the tiles pulling off and it gets that damn hot and there's no one smart enough to say, right, we'll get it down a couple of floors.
38 upstairs. Upstairs. Quick. I'll do the victim. Go.
I think the victim's going to be okay, but we should monitor it. The victim.
The big concern about that fire was that big tower, and they were frightened that the heat was on the base of that tower for so long that only if to distort it would fall out into the street, see? So the chief got me and a couple of other blokes. He said, I want you to go down and get the ladders up. I was up that ladder for 3 hours just directing the water onto the base of that tower. I was frozen to the place I couldn't hardly get down when they told me to come down. And in those days, I don't think I saw the canteen. You wouldn't get refreshments or anything like that. There was a canteen then, but they didn't order it out.
So, will you get one man from that branch line to go up and tell Mr. Clare that as soon as that fire's extinguished to let us know so we can knock it off? Okay.
We were walking up the stairs with hay at our feet, and then all of a sudden I felt the heat, and you couldn't see anything for smoke, and you could just see the embers. Yeah, that's right. And you think, shit.
And Mr. Short starts abusing you. Get in there!
Go back. Yeah, back.
All right.
We were standing in embers.
I couldn't work out what he's saying. He's going, we're on fire, you're on fire, get back.
Who was?
Me. Walking up through the middle of the hay. It's going.
So you've got to get down a lot lower. It's no good standing up there like bloody male models. You've got to get down on your guts in the shit and really play. Otherwise you're gone. We can set all the scenarios we like. When they walk into the first fire, you know, particularly one where there's people involved in it, then they're really going to have problems because the adrenaline really starts pumping. You can't work on prepared drills, it's just all ad hoc.
It's hard work, so there's a sort of fine line between hard work and fun. So, you know, if it was a novelty before now, that would just probably ended it.
I mean, I go into a fire, I enjoy it, I love it. This is something that, you know, it's like being trained to do something, you go in and you play. And it's a game.
As they say, the bread and butter of what we're doing, you know, we can get a hard on about it. You know, it's okay, yeah.
You can't get a young bloke and say, we'll put on a fire for him. You can't do it. You've got to get there and experience it. You've got to learn the hard way.
Our aim is to teach these guys not to do stupid things, but to sort of get them used to weighing up the options and taking the right option at any given time. If they take the wrong option, in a scene like this, they're not going to get hurt. They'll get a gut full of smoke, they'll be uncomfortable for a little while, but they won't get hurt. In a real job, they'll die.
One of the things in terms of firefighters' coping ability is humour. And today we've got the muster happening, and I think the best part about the muster is the buckets and the water. And on station you certainly do experience a lot of water and a lot of buckets at different times. Firefighters use water fights as one of their best means of coping, and I know stories from major incidents always involve water fights as a means of winding down, settling down. Not everybody wants to sit and meditate, not everybody wants to go for a run. Good old water fight really does do it for some people.
To have a crew of 4 or 5 people who are risk takers, who need constant stimulation, who are easily bored, it's a recipe for disaster when you think about those long quiet nights where there's very little happening.
I've seen a brick wall built inside a person's locker so that when they've come in the morning, they've opened up their locker door and they've been faced with a brick wall. If you ever want to see a really stressed out firefighter, find a firefighter that hasn't been to a decent job in 3 months, and you look at a guy ready to jump out of his skin. He's also the most dangerous kind of guy if he wants to pull some kind of trick on you, because they have plenty of time to sit around and think of new amazing ways to make your day a little bit uncomfortable.
The tunnel is approximately about 150 feet long, about 50 metres. We use just hardwood timber, which is stacked into a pallet or a cage inside. We light that and leave it burning for probably about an hour. It's being driven by a fan to make the heat increase inside the tunnel. We turn the fan right down just before the recruits enter. The tunnel's stinking hot, and we advance from there.
Yeah, they sort of told us that once we get in there and they close the doors behind us and we start putting water on the fire, that it could well be we'll have to lie in our guts right on the ground to get away from the heat. It's about the only way that that we're going to survive in there. Otherwise, you know, you might collapse and be dragged outside or something. So
the recruits don't really know what to expect before they get there, and there's a lot of hype and build-up before we get there, and we tell them that it's going to be stinking hot and they've got to be careful.
The sort of heat that you can sort of have your skin exposed to it for a split second and get deep thickness burns from it, that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty hot.
It's the first time we've actually gone in anywhere and actually we could get hurt, I'd say. You do the wrong thing, you haven't got the water there to protect you, you're going to get hot, you're going to get burnt. So we've just got to look after each other in there.
There's legend stories about people turning sideways and feet burning off, you know, the earlobe and all that sort of stuff, but I think it's... I think they're trying to have a bit of a lend of us, trying to get the adrenaline running a little bit.
Any man that says that he ever been in a decent fire and he wasn't frightened, he wasn't in a fire. Okay, I might be a coward. I've been very frightened of fires. But fire, it doesn't matter whether it was 100 years ago or today. It's still fire. Got to be treated with a lot of respect.
Jono, listen, fellas, don't have any cigarette lighters in your pockets when you go in the tunnel, okay? What about firecrackers? No, definitely not. Take keys and pens and stuff out too, because they get very hot, all right? And they might burn you through through your shirt and so on.
PDU goes into pre-alarm in there, make sure you move. Very hard to hear the PDUs operate inside, so just keep an ear out for the moment the pre-alarms that come in. Very hard to tell whose it is, so if you hear one go, everyone moves. If one goes into full alarm, everyone comes out and starts.
200. Make sure your ears are tucked in. Okay, I can see a few bare ears there. Okay, check each other. Instructors, there's no talking, bar the instructors.
Yeah, pretty hot, pretty intense, big flame, so you feel it burning your skin too, so yeah, couldn't take too much of it. You just feel the exposed areas where this wasn't covering that the heat was hitting, so you sort of like tucking in and you turn the branch on, the water, and you've got this sort of like shield of water though, it keeps the heat off you. If it wasn't for that, you know, you just, you'd be stuffed.
You do remember some of them right from the very beginning, and remembering how nervous they were on their first day and how tentative they are as a group, and then seeing them when they come back after 8 weeks in Goulburn, how close-knit they are and how well they know each other. They're much more comfortable with their role, and personalities are starting to come out much more. So seeing them over those different stages and following their progress is really interesting. They did their final exam yesterday, and I think they all went pretty good, but I haven't seen the results yet. But just judging by what they've done so far today, they've grasped everything pretty well. Their skills are quite high. They're handling the equipment well, and they know what they're doing, and they're working pretty well as a team too.
It's pretty nervy with a lot of the guys. There's a bit of anxiety. You want to look good. You want to do your best for friends and loved ones.
As a group, we've been training together for the march and the parade. All the guys have been practising with each other, which is good. It's a bit funny in the mess room. You see guys march up and down the the hall and saluting to each other?
It's sort of like last day of school. You know what it's like. You know, you want to muck around and, you know, get out of there, but you've got to do that last bit or have that last day at school. So basically everyone's pretty happy, you know. This morning we played around with a bit of water, had a bit of fun. So yeah, only a few hours to go.
We had a chief officer, his name was Griffiths, Mr. Griffiths. They used to call him Griffo, and Nuts Griffiths. And he wouldn't allow firemen to be decorated for bravery. He said, that's your job. And if ever anyone won a medal, it was him, dozens of times. He was a real firefighter, he was a branch man.
Well, you don't come into the brigades without prior knowledge of some aspect of the tradition. Entering into the brigade, you're basically here for the long haul, so you've got to respect that, take it on board and be part of it.
Next to salute is Firefighter Brett Butler.
Leave it to me. Yeah. It's supposed to be on tonight.
Firefighter James Cordell. Firefighter Nick will be stationed at Chester Hill Fire Station.
That's all I can see. I used to be on 16, eh? That's right.
Firefighter Andrew Fraser. Firefighter Paul Bevan. Firefighter Lynch will be stationed at the City of Sydney Fire Station on Sequel Hill. Firefighter Johnson will be stationed at Cogra Fire Station.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Firefighter Brett Jackson. Next recipient is Firefighter Jeffrey Lay.
That's all I'm doing, eh? Yeah. You'll be able to teach our blokes how to clean their shoes properly, won't you? Hopefully.
Firefighter Jeffrey Lay.
Dad was a Volo Fiery back in the 60s and he was very happy for me, very proud that I actually made it into the Fire Brigade.
I never thought at that time that it would ever come to him joining the Fire Brigade, but of course when he left school he became an electrician and I thought that was going to be his vocation for life.
He's always wanted to be in uniform because the chicks dig it. Yeah, so he's been looking forward to this.
Well, he used to go down to the fire station and Bill would show him all around and that, you know, and he'd hat the fire engine and he'd get carried away.
Hey, fire truck.
I think it's quite exciting, actually, because he's been looking forward to the time when he finishes up, so I'm looking forward to him going out to fight his first fire now.
Feel very safe now. I know he'll be able to save me in any situation. No, it's a great achievement. Really proud.
It is, isn't it?
Yep. Cordell. He was quite big.
Yeah. 4 months. See you later.
My first fire was a kitchen fire, and the flames had licked up and caught the lacquer on the cabinets, and it was quite spectacular actually. And of course, I had my air pack on and my mask, and I was with a very seasoned firefighter that had been on for 20 years at the time himself. So I'm in there sucking my face mask to my face, and he goes, wait, take a look at this one. And all these pretty blues and greens coming off the lacquer were spectacular. He goes, watch this. Steam. Steam put the fire out, no mess. I was impressed.
Squad attention, stand at ease. Answer your names. Firefighter Osmond. Wilson. We've got 2 new firefighters here tonight. Firefighters Lay and Jackson. Make yourselves known to them and welcome them to D Platoon headquarters.
My first fire. was on East 2nd Street between Avenue A and Avenue B. I was scared to death. My officer yelled at me because I was acting a little nervous.
I put the wrong pants on, the bloke next door when I jumped up. I put his pants on instead of mine. Yeah.
The station officer in number 1 getting water in if it's obviously a light. So they've got the branch, okay, and the hose. When we go to an AFA, your job is the CO2 extinguisher.
You know, as we approach it, and we'll just say, righto, Jeff, grab this, yeah. But don't worry about any calls or anything.
Three of you telling me a bit about what's happening if he's running
Exactly, yeah, you'd be working together, so, you know,
he'll be able to do the job.
you're not going to be on your...
Yeah, there won't be any.
There were so many officers and men on that, I had to sit right down the back. I was the junior hand. So old Joe Perry, when we were pulling out, he said, you'll remember this one. When we were going down through Taylor Square, there were big balls of red-hot wool floating through the air like that. There was a howling westerly wind.
We've jumped out of the appliance and I've grabbed the wrong helmet and wore it up there. You know, it was sort of a bit too small for my head too, I didn't even think. And I've been looking for my helmet for the last 20 minutes.
And when the walls went out, they broke off the telegraph poles like matches, and all the wires were alive. And these big flashes, like 320,000 volts going through that, and they were both crawling under them to get away from them, because when the wall went out, and that's when the fire engine caught alight, you get that radiation come out. Some blokes tell me I talk too much about the Fire Brigade, but I enjoyed it so much. I love the job.
You know how to your pants.
Tell us, Johnny, what's in it?
No 11, John.
No artificials here.
This is just a bit of a wake-up tool, this. Very effective.
Yeah, you can see the smoke when we pulled into the street. I don't know how often this happens, but they lit some rubbish or something at the base of the tree. Doesn't take much for the air to fill with smoke. My first fire. Sorry?
Just a little bit more than that.
Up top.
That'd be that good one.
Yeah.
The guys are walking, I came out of Central about 4 or 5, and come up ready.
It's 7:15 Saturday morning. We're about to start our 4 days off. I think Jeff's relief's just looking for him now, so he'll probably have to go home and have a bit of a sleep because I don't think he got much last night like the rest of us. I think he sort of realised that he can relax a little bit. He was very, very nervous. He's been told a few stories, I think, and hopefully we've put his mind at ease, and just those few 8 calls last night or whatever have given him a bit of confidence, and hopefully he'll look forward to coming in on Wednesday and we can show him the ropes of day work.